All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about the recent influx of pitcher injuries in the league. Just my personal thoughts on them, maybe some ways to stop it, and we'll talk about that here. So the first thing we're going to talk about is who are the pitcher injuries? Well, we know of what happened over the weekend. First was Shane Bieber. It was announced that he will need Tommy John surgery. He had some elbow soreness, went in, and it was worst-case scenario, obviously, having Tommy John. So that was the first thing. Then it was Spencer Strider having some elbow soreness after his velocity and break both dipped in the game before. And Garrett Cole, of course, before in the season with an elbow injury. Now, those are the three main people. Obviously, Strider and Bieber are the main ones. As Strider, we don't know how long it's going to be, but it does not look good. And with Shane Bieber, he is obviously out for a long, long time with the Tommy John. Now, of course, there have been many other pitcher injuries, including the big ones like Yuri Perez, who just got Tommy John, but we've also had people like Godai Senga get smaller injuries. We had Jonathan Loaizaga, who also had a torn UCL, but not Tommy John. I'm not really sure how that works, but that is what happens. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are asking, well, why are these happening? And I think a lot of people have different responses and reasoning, so I'll just give mine. So, personally, I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. Now, a lot of people think that, it's the pitch lock. Well, pitchers don't have enough time to recover between pitches, and it's putting too much stress in their arm, and that's why they're getting so injured. Some people think, okay, well, you know what? It's the velocity. Pitchers throw so hard nowadays that it's putting a lot of pressure on their arms. People think, it's break. Well, you're trying to spin the ball so much that you're putting too much stress in your arm, and it's getting the injuries. People think, I think it's the new training. Pitchers are training so much and in different ways that your arms aren't used to that you're getting injured. And I think a lot of people think it's just one thing. Well, me personally, I would think it's a combination of everything I just listed. Now, I think the main culprit here definitely is the recent pitcher velocity and break things. I mean, nowadays, pitchers throwing harder than ever. Pitchers are throwing the ball with more spin than ever. And I think that is putting a lot of stress on an arm. Pitchers don't know how to pace themselves, in my opinion. Now, I want to preface that I did play baseball in high school, but I was never a pitcher. So if I'm completely wrong about this with pitchers, please let me know in the comments. But for me, at least, I think that pitchers don't know how to pace themselves. I think a lot of them are just taught from an early age, and especially nowadays when they get to the big leagues, throw as hard as you can every single pitch. We want that. We want you to have your best pitch every time. Spin the ball as much as you can if you're throwing a slider, a changeup, whatever. But if you're throwing a fastball, throw as hard as you can. Just keep going and going and going. And I think that is putting too much stress on an arm. I think you have to pace yourself. I don't think that it's safe for you to throw 100 every single time. I don't think that you should be able to. I don't think that you should, as a human, with your arm, be able to throw 100 miles per hour every single time. I think that, you should be able to pace yourself. You should be able to say, you know what, okay, I'm not going to throw 100% right now. I can't. I want to pace myself and wait towards the end of my outing. And when I have someone on base, I'll gear up and I'll throw that 100 mile per hour pitch. But right now, I want to throw 97, 98. And I think that is one of the big culprits, that pitchers are throwing 100% all the time. You just can't do that. That's not safe. That's just not a good idea. I don't understand why they're being taught this, and I don't understand why they're not realizing this. I think that with most of these pitchers, they throw really hard, they throw a lot of break, and it's just, you can't do that every single pitch. I mean, look at DeGrom. DeGrom has had so many injuries over the years, and why? Well, because DeGrom has the best stuff. Maybe I'll get some flack on it. I think DeGrom has the best pure stuff in baseball history. I think watching him up close, especially as a Mets fan, the years when he was with the Mets, it was just incredible. His slider was insane. His fastball was insane. And he threw it consistently. He threw that 2,700 RPM slider consistently. He threw that 100 mile per hour fastball consistently. And I think that he didn't have injuries over his first couple of years, yes, but it caught up to him. And he's had a lot of injuries now. He's gone injury after injury after injury. He got injured twice with the Mets. Rangers signed him. He immediately got Tommy John. So I think he's one of the big kind of culprits and one of the big faces of this. So I think really it's a combination of, first of all, pitchers are throwing too hard for their own good. You can't throw 100 mile per hour every fastball and expect not to get hurt at some point. I think nowadays Tommy John is just something pitchers are going to have. Like it is something that is just going to happen at some point in your career as a pitcher. I think there's like a 1% chance it doesn't happen. No matter who you are, you could be Gerrit Cole, you could be the single A pitcher for the New York Mets affiliate. I don't know, but I think it's going to happen at some point for every single pitcher, and I think that is just a matter of time. If you are a guy who does pitch professionally, I just think that is what's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think it is pitchers pacing themselves. I think they are throwing too hard. I think they have to chill out a little bit. And I think that once people realize that, there's going to be a lot of pitcher injuries that go down. For a guy like Strider, who is probably taught, throw hard all the time. You know, we want you using that fastball, using that slider. Yes, that's great. That's great stuff, but it's putting so much stress on your arm that it's just insane. So I really think that that's one of the big reasons why all these pitchers are getting hurt. I think that these guys don't know how to pace themselves, and I think that's really what they have to do. And that's really what my general thoughts on that are. And I think it also has to do with the other things I mentioned. First of all, the pitch clock. I don't think the pitch clock is the only reason why pitchers are getting hurt, but I'd be lying if I said I don't think it's contributing. I do think it is. I think that when pitchers are taught that they can have as much time as they want in between pitches to recover, and you're now changing that to basically like 4 or 5 seconds because they have to do that, figure out what pitch they want to throw, and then get the signs right with the catcher, get in their windup, do the before pitch motions of the umpire saying, I'm ready to pitch and all that. I think it's changing up their pattern drastically. And I think that the pitching clock is one of the big reasons why these guys are getting hurt, because you're not having as much time in between pitches to get your arms kind of ready. And I think that the pitching clock is contributing to that a little bit. I still think the pitching clock is a great idea. I still think that the pitch clock is saving baseball in a way. It's frankly nowadays kids don't have as much attention span, and you need baseball games to be shorter. For me, as someone who grew up in baseball, who loves baseball, baseball is his life, I can watch a 4-hour baseball game no problem. But for maybe a 14-year-old who's coming up and has come up in this era, I think that you're not going to have as much attention span. That is just science. That is what's going on. And I think that baseball has to adapt to that and kind of be shorter. So I think that's another thing there as well. So I think it's a mixture of the pitch clock, forcing pitchers to throw and really not give them enough time to kind of cool off, with also throwing hard. So, and I think all pitchers nowadays knew they want to be pitchers since very little. They've trained, they've worn out their arms since they were little, and it's finally, kind of blowing open when they become a major leaguer. So I think it is only going to get worse over the years if they don't find a solution to this. I think one solution is not having a velocity cap, because that would be kind of stupid in my opinion. I think it would be reteaching pitchers on how to pace pitches, on how to, say, you could throw this 97 mile per hour fastball now, but when we need that 100, we're going to need that 100 mile per hour later. So just make sure that you're ready for that and you're not going to blow out your arm if you do that. So I think that's another thing. And I think potentially moving the pitch clock up maybe 2 or 3 seconds would be a good idea. I think those 2 or 3 seconds could be very vital, and I don't think it would be so drastic to the time to the games that it would affect the new viewership that baseball has seen from it. So that would be my personal opinion if you were asking what I would think of it. So that's what I would do. That's how I would approach this issue. But I don't know enough about it really. But that's really what I would do. I would put the pitch clock up a little bit, and I would probably have teams reteach pitchers on how to pitch and how to pace their velocity, because I just think that throwing 100 mile per hour every single time is not a great idea, not a recipe for success. So going over just first the effects on the Guardians now and the Rays with Bieber and Strider being out. For the Guardians, I think it's a huge blow. You had such a strong start to the season, and a lot of that was because, excuse me for that, sorry. Wow. That was not good. So for the Guardians, which for them, it is a huge blow in my opinion. I think that you started the season off really, really well, and now having Bieber out is just a huge blow. I mean, again, I'm going to say it, you guys started off the season really well, kind of out of nowhere, and it was because of Bieber's strong performance that you were, for one of the big reasons. So I definitely think that him being out is not good and really does affect this season. Well, they won after that. They won the game after we knew that Bieber was going to be out for a long time. But so, hey, props to them. But I think if they want to improve more, they are going to have to find people within their organization to pitch the innings that they're losing with Bieber. Carlos Carrasco might play a big role in your rotation now, and he's been pretty good with back with the Guardians. So we'll definitely see what happens there, and we'll definitely see what is going to be going on with the Guardians right now. So yeah. With the Braves, I think it's a much bigger deal for Strider. They are competing, and losing your ace is pretty awful. I think a lot of people were expecting Strider to have a breakout season, kind of finally get to that Cy Young tier where a lot of people thought he would be last year. And losing him for however long it is awful for this year. I mean, you don't have that many established starting pitchers, especially in the playoffs, when you realize, how bad your pitching has been coming to the playoffs. So it's definitely not good and not a positive here. So, yeah, you definitely want to. You definitely need the Braves to improve, and it's bad. I'm be honest, it's bad for the Braves. They, need more starting pitching depth now, I'd say. It is also bad for next year, as you're probably going to be losing Max Fried in free agency. So if Strider does get out, if Strider is out for the next season with Tommy John, you're losing him, you're losing Fried, you're losing Charlie Morton, Sale's getting older. So it would be really, really bad for the Braves if Strider does have Tommy John. It's really bad anyways, but if he has Tommy John, it's going to be horrible. So we're definitely watching this situation and seeing what is going to happen with the Braves now that we know about the Strider injury. So, yeah. So those are my thoughts on the current pitcher injuries going on in baseball, and just what I think about them. We'll be going to our fourth segment here, our fourth and final one, which is going to be talking about some news around the league. This is how I usually end off the show. So, yeah, we'll be going to that, and we'll see you after that. So thanks, and bye. See you after that.